You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It is your most authoritative news analysis show. I'll just read a couple of messages to you and then we will move on to the Bright Odro's situation and Mami Tiwa taking over, Addo-Danquah taking over, and the questions that are coming. Now, Dr. Atuedu says that I think it will be unfortunate to suggest that the government influenced the Delta 13 judgment. My understanding is that the court serves as the ultimate decider in cases and that it cannot alter the law to satisfy politicians and their disciples. We may disagree with the judge's ruling, but we need to respect the fundamentals of our judicial system, which is also centered on the concepts of innocent until proven guilty, fair trial, and due process. The public may not always believe that those tenets were upheld, but we need to show our judges some respect. Right, you're right. They are good judges, they are bad judges too. And a lawyer is asking, Samson, wasn't it possible to charge them with contempt of court? That is the Delta 8 he's asking, because all of these things are feeding into the sentence. And this is a senior lawyer asking the question, wasn't it possible to charge them with contempt, and why was that never pursued? But you know, and he knows better, that contempt, the burden of proof is like the same criminal process. Proof beyond reasonable doubts. And the slightest of doubt must inure to the benefit of the accused person. So that's a difficult one, but people still believe that.
But is that not
this content was
Delta 8?
In Fisher.
He's talking of,
in Fisher.
He's talking of Delta 8 then,
Delta 8,
not
yes.
13.
Yes, 8, not 13. Musa Abator in Kumasi says that, I'm not a lawyer, but when I heard the Delta 13 charge had been changed to rioting, I was convinced that the case was already dead. This is first time in the history of Ghana that a ruling party's vigilante group entered the courtroom in broad daylight to free culprits and allowed to go scot-free. Okay, so those were the Delta 8s. They, we couldn't identify them, so we have not proceeded with them. Ghana is slowly becoming a banana republic. Benjamin Osei Jamra in Edinburgh says that the problem in Ghana is that we talk too much. We are making noise for the rule to work, and now the rule of law has worked with regards to these Delta Force issues, and yet we are still complaining. Trust me, if they were giving 100 years in prison, we will still not be satisfied. Let's respect our institutions of the states. Kwame in the UK says, I heard Kofi's take on the seemingly political push which may have influenced the charges, and he sought to quote a case in America which in a way denigrates our system. There are too many studies in the USA which confirm racial and political biases in judicial cases. Yeah, call it American jurisprudence sometimes too. So let's not always be quick to hail some country's system while denigrating our own. I think it's a question of the superiority of one against the other and the perception of one working in a way better than the other.
General principles. That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, as you know, the CID boss had, is it 2 months or 3? He was supposed to retire in January 2018. And was giving the marching orders to take his leave. He apparently had a leave to spend, accumulated to take. And I am asking, why is he not excited that he's had the opportunity to go take some holiday and rest pending his retirement? But he says that's not right, because like in the Delta case, we heard that somebody was paying for them, or somebody had actually confessed to paying them to do their work. And then in this matter, we are hearing that that same individual is the one who had been making some allegations about Bright Odro. And it's on the basis of those allegations that he was, as it were, sacked. So he's unhappy that at least there ought to have been an investigation to give him the opportunity to, as it were, exonerate himself. But that opportunity was not given, and he was pushed. He's not happy. He has former colleagues, former, police commanders who agree with him that the issue should have been investigated before he was pushed. In his place, his deputy, who has come in the, in the media recently over the A+ matter, ACP Addo-Danquah, has taken over his place. There are some anti-corruption campaigners, including Vitus Azim, who say this is wrong, 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 wrong. She did not deserve that position. So on this note too, let me start with Andrew. What do you say about the happenings at the CID?
Well, I guess they are in two folds.
Yes.
One relating to, if you like, alleged removal from office, and the other one being the directive
replacement.
Yeah, to the lady to act. I mean, in respect of the first one, I do not see any issue at all, because it is not unusual for persons in any position, whether in the police or other public sector institutions or even in the private sector, to be asked to proceed on leave pending their ultimate exit from the institution. Of course, that's what transpired in this particular case. He is due for retirement on the 2nd of January 2018. And consistent with the police's own internal practices, when people have accumulated leave, they exit 3 months or so before their actual time.
He challenges that. He says he's aware of several of his colleagues who stayed on until the last day. So he doesn't want to rest. Why are you forcing him to rest?
It's strange, isn't it? Because, I mean, I believe that the institution itself has its own internal processes, staffing plan, manpower plan, and that depending on your peculiar expertise, they ask you to stay on and even engage you on a contract basis for a certain number of years.
Yes.
It
By
is
the
not,
Constitution,
it is
you
not,
can be engaged for 2 years for 2 different tenures.
It is
so
not
4 years
automatic.
maximum.
It is not universally applicable. It is not every police officer who is exiting who has been engaged on a contract. So why is he not using those instances as well to say that, well, people have been given contracts, so I expect that I also be given contracts
But
as well.
he justifies, is he not, when he says that, in my case, allegations are being made by a key figure of the party and government that I have been, as it were, I'm behind the land guards matters and all of these things. And I was not given the opportunity to clear my name before I was asked to go.
But was it part of the reasons that were given to him in the letter asking him to exit? So what is the issue? I mean, I think that is his own suspicion that he's entitled to air, and he's airing them. I mean, I would not put too much weight on the assertion that it was the Kene issue that had led to the police administration asking him to exit. I mean, this is a usual practice within the police establishment. And of course, he's entitled to complain if he's not happy with the fact that he's been asked to leave. But
there may have been some investigations that are very critical that he was on, that he feels that he ought to have stayed to finish them.
And he can provide guarantees that those investigations will be concluded by the 2nd of January when he goes on retirement. I mean, these are institutions that people started long ago. They've occupied the offices and left. He's only come to continue. And when he's leaving, the appropriate handing over notes ought to be given for other persons.
Okay, so what do you say about his replacement and the criticism against it?
You see, it's surprising why we do this to ourselves. And the only reason that people are raising issues about this acting head of CID, because as far as I'm concerned, she's not being confirmed. She was the second in command, and arising out of the fact that the substantive officer has gone on leave pending retirement. Automatically, in any institution, that's what happens. I recall when I was at First Atlantic, and I'll use my own personal circumstances as an example. I was deputy manager legal, okay? One, Mr. Okwanan was the head of legal. Kwesi Nyantechi was manager legal. Both of them exited at a certain time. I was asked to act as head of legal. It's completely normal. In any event, I've not heard anybody question the competencies of the lady who has been asked to act. Their only
conduct
issue
has come under question.
What conduct? That she engaged in some conversation with an individual who had alleged some wrongdoing against officers at the office of the presidency.
And spoke in a way that a police officer of a stature should not have.
Well, to an extent, I agree that when I heard the tape the first time, I wondered why she would engage in that kind of conversation with a gentleman. But she has come to say that, look, she had series of conversations with a gentleman that had been put together to make it seem as if it was one seamless
that's
conversation.
her voice nonetheless.
Yes, that it's her voice, and I do not have any issue with that. But if you listen to the tape critically, what was it that she did wrong that people are, as a result of that, asking or questioning the acting capacity that she has been appointed to?
The things that you say you had worries about when you heard.
No,
it
was a conversation that suggested her being too familiar with the individual. And look, people have
too familiar and compromising.
I do not think that there was any compromising statement.
Okay, unprofessional.
Well, unprofessional, I do not think she was unprofessional. She was overly friendly.
Okay.
And I think, and having listened to her reasons, in terms of the investigation, there was nothing untoward about it. The police had conducted the investigation. They had gone to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital and had indeed confirmed that the statements that Mr. Asare had made, A+ had made relative to some calls from the Chief of Staff's office to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital was in fact true, and that they had spoken to the Chief Executive of Kolebu, who indicated that he was going to get back to them. And according to the Mr. Abu-Jinapo, he never did. So confirming that means that they were complicit, or that the lady had been compromised.
He said to have been instructing and, as it were, guiding A+ to change his statement and delete a portion. Delete a portion where he accused the chiefs of staff of theft. And she says we can't find that. But everybody, simply by checking on Facebook, can pick up that statement that he indeed called them thieves. And she said, okay, you say you didn't call them thieves, right? We can't even find that, so come and change that.
So confirm in your written statement, because we don't find in your written statement that you had said that you did not refer to them as thieves. So come and confirm in your written statement that you in fact didn't refer to them as thieves. What was wrong with that? Because the man had said so in her oral evidence to the police, that I did not refer to them as thieves. Now, this was not captured in his written statement.
And the CID couldn't find that information, which was all over the place.
Well, that they went to his... You recall that in that very tape, A+ said that sometimes you put out something and people copy it,
right,
and as it were, add on and make it seem as if those were his words, and that he had not referred to them as thieves. So my understanding of the conversation was that, okay, if you say that you do not refer to them as thieves, we do not find this statement in your this phrase in your statement. So come and include that in your statement so that we can conclude our investigations. Invite these gentlemen tomorrow to come and also provide.
Accusers also say she had a behavior of rent seeking to have audience with the president and to sort of do some whatever it was.
Well, I guess, and if it is in fact the case that this was some series of conversations that have been pieced together, I would suspect that that portion of the conversation must have taken place after the investigation and the report released.
Okay.
And at that point, of course, if she had become probably friendly with A+, she could engage in all sorts of conversations with her that she may consider to have been private.
Okay.
So does that in any way affect her competencies to perform the acting role that she's been asked to perform? I do not think so at all.
And for someone who has been doing that job for God knows how long?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, Honorable Minister of Sini, what's the point about the call that at least the press or whoever is involved should have waited for the investigation that the police themselves had promised that they will investigate about the tape, because she claimed that the tape was doctored. And they said they were going to conduct it. What is the point about it? At least you should have waited until that investigation was concluded before you consider her. She could be heard and the investigation can go on.
What's the rank? ACP Addo-Danquah Tiwa. Oh no, you don't need to wait. I mean, she had provided justification for her appointment. She was interested in meeting the president and bringing to his attention people who were around him and sabotaging him. You didn't hear that on the tape. So an appointment of that nature could easily make it possible for her to meet the president and bring to the president's attention those people who were around him and working to sabotage him. She believed seriously that the president is a good man. Seriously. And that people were sabotaging the president in the tape. So there was no need waiting for the tape. The president has done what is proper and fitting in these circumstances so that it can facilitate the meeting. In any case, Kokubaku said earlier.
So you are saying that if she's getting it, she's not getting it on merit?
Well, I'm saying that she wants to meet the president and bring to the attention of the president those around him sabotaging him. Yes, and he's now got the CID.
Wild speculation.
Now she's on a very good pedestal. That's head of CID, and so
Acting head of CID.
Well, I think Co-Warranto will not apply here. She will have capacity to act as CID. And so I think that, but basically I think they ought to have concluded these discussions. Okay. Now, of late, many issues are coming out about the professionalism of the police service. I mean, the lady, and it was on the basis of her professional conduct that my brother Abdul Malik Okubaku suggested 2 weeks ago that she acted inappropriately and that sanctions should be brought to bear. I mean, it appears that he has been ignored and rather the woman has been promoted. Again, then you hear Bright Oduro too talking about the same thing. Probably it's time to look, and I invite the Minister of Interior to look at the professional conduct of the police service. You are a public servant. You are in the police. You had August to go on retirement. Some officers of the state have not been compelled to go on retirement because probably they think that their services are still needed. They work until they fall dead, or probably they are asked to go on the day they are supposed to go, when they are 16 or so. You, by your own statement, said you were supposed to go in August. You were granted August and granted September. And the only reason that we were told to go in October is because they said you were aiding laggards. This is very illogical. And in any case, October to January 10th is 3 months. And you had accumulated leave. You were not going. You had personalized your office.
When he didn't hear anything at the time of the expiration of the time, he felt that he was presumed that he will continue till his last
Well, he
day.
was entitled to presume
and he was willing to do so.
He was entitled to presume so until the contrary is proven. The contrary has clearly proven that he was not given carte blanche to continue.
But what coincidence? At a time when, Kenneth Japan raised the issue again about his alleged involvement with land guards.
Coincidences happen. Sometimes they are difficult to explain. It's a coincidence. It happened. And so, for me, I think that Bride Oduro should have used the internal processes if he felt hard done by the decision of the police service to ask him to go on accumulated leave. Should have used the institutions of the service. And clearly he's stating issues of fairness.
Yes.
Okay, and that others are there who have not also taken the accumulated leave and who are asked to work until the day they are going so that they can go. Now, why is he
is he still entitled or subject to the internal process of the police service?
No, he's not.
So you said he should have used those processes.
Not talk, but I mean, you could try to invoke, or you go to court to invoke, because Article 910 is saying that he's been treated differently. Okay, that's what he's saying. And he and his colleagues are equally circumstanced. And it appears to be a violation of Article 19 of the Constitution. So he could even go to court for an enforcement of Article 19 of the Constitution.
For what purpose? The minimus. What's the use? You are going anyway in the next 2-3 months.
Declaration.
The courts don't waste time.
There will be a declaratory judgment, and then people it will guide the police in future.
Okay.
Yes, but in any case, our police service should begin to be very professional. I don't believe that MPP gurus are behind his dismissal. He is going on accumulated leave. And even though it's marks of procedural leave, but no, this one, he would have gone on 3rd January anyway. He's got accumulated leave. He's been asked to take his accumulated leave and go and rest. Why don't people want to rest? They should go and rest. That's all.
Okay, interesting. Now, Kuku, I've checked the background of this lady who is replacing him, and what a fabulous career she has had. And checking out in her office, very, very interesting citations. Some of them the police themselves honoring her for being such a professional and having, risen up the ladder. Why should anybody raise questions about her competence and being fit for the job?
Well. The last time I spoke on this, I think was on this very program.
Yes.
I made the point that her career was at a crossroad.
Yes.
Because the contents of that A+ tape had, raised some issues, and I thought that those issues needed to be determined, so that this fine career, it's true, I didn't know her career then. The trajectory and all her achievements have subsequently been given some further insight, and it's brilliant. And for a woman to rise to that level, it's fantastic. We need to grow more such, spectacular individuals in the service. So I'm even more saddened by what has happened to her. And so I thought that if there was a fresh investigation of the allegations that had been made by A+, as well as a forensic analysis of the contents of that tape, would be in the ultimate interest. That's what I felt, so that her career will remain intact. There are people who said I was wrong. I still think I was right. See, the two aspects of the tape, the A+ tape, disturbed me. And it was in her own interest. She issued a statement talking about doctrine, some say editing, all those things. What was it that she said her visit to Kolebu collaborated in terms of what A+ was saying? I asked that question here sometime. That was it the specific allegations of corruption made against the two deputy chiefs of staff, or was it some general rot at Kolebu? It was whole interest for that particular extension to be drawn, and the issue is verified. For all you know, she wasn't talking of the specific allegations against the two deputy chiefs of staff.
But she proceeded to say, as for the corruption bit, you may be right.
Yeah, but that's the point I'm making. So is it the allegations that were made? I mean, why do people want no action on that aspect? I even said the two deputy chiefs of staff was even in their own interest too, that those things are clarified and cleared. Okay, and I made it point here. Look, A+'s allegation, the police tape is useless. Rubbish. But you see, you don't leave it that way. Because I have sat here, I've read it, I've looked at it, there's no way he can prove his, give any evidence, so that's the end. No, you are dealing with the public. So I was thinking that the police should have instituted some investigations into the tape. I'm not talking about the general allegations,
right,
which the tape actually virtually undermined anyway. And so I said fresh event. That's why I support the SRAJ, those who have gone to SRAJ. It may still help at the end of the day to vindicate the police or otherwise. You remember I recollected the Kofi Boakye incident, if you recall. I'm not denying the fact that police investigators could sometimes use some of the methods the lady was using, because some of those who are defending her said, look, she was just trying to seek more information, she was urging A+ on and the rest. Yes, Kofi Boakye tried, same with Tago and Co. But you know, he was asked to proceed on leave. Proceed on leave should sound ordinary, but when it is attached with other conditions, in Kofi Boakye's case, if you read the statement that was issued, signed by the then IGP, he was asked to proceed on leave. By the end of the day, you know he was subjected to disciplinary proceedings. I don't know whether you are aware of it. Even at one stage, he was reduced, his rank was reduced. Subsequently restored after the formal proceedings and all the rest. At the end of the day, look at that fine policeman. His career stands intact. One of the best you can have. So sometimes, investigating these things, especially those things that have been brought into the political realm, Uganda here and there, all those things, it becomes in the interest of that individual that issues are investigated and some clarity and finality brought to bear on those issues. Here we are, fine woman, fine career, deputy. So the man exits, that's the boss exits, automatically she's acting. But you see questions being raised, and some of the questions being raised, for you know, are unfair. That's what I meant by her career had been brought into a certain line that perhaps is not fair to her.
Right.
And so investigating it would have helped. In any case, Oduro, who I also know is a fine policeman. I've known him for quite a long time. I know cases he was involved in and serious cases that his professionalism led to results and things in favor of the state.
Including the Atayi matters.
All those things. Okay? He's got 3 months to go. I know that there's nothing in terms of the law or the police regulations that has been violated. I know that. But I was asking myself, and I've spoken to some big guys. I mean, when I say big guys, I mean people in responsible positions who are handling these matters. And I was asking them, look, 3 months, 3 good months left for the man. Why rush? And I was telling them, and this was before it became public, I was telling them that, look here, you are going to have these challenges. These challenges are there. People are going to link it to the tape. The people are going to question the woman's appointment, all those things. So leave this man alone. 3 months, he exits. Okay? It is true, I agree. Those that I spoke to and what I know is that it has nothing to do with, his exit has nothing to do with the land guard thing. Yeah. That I know. But you see, even him doesn't believe that. And what he said has fed into that public perception.
You may not know that leaving him to stay for 3 months would not be in the interest of the,
look,
you know.
What I've been told, what I hear, there's a policy decision. They said that, look, people who are giving contracts, because apparently there was some move that, oh, why not? You can be giving extension. And he's not the only one. The idea is that this contract business is making the top too heavy.
Right.
And it's closing the rise of others down there. So there's actually a decision that perhaps they should either eliminate that whole thing or minimize it to a large extent so that you can grow, because it's creating frustration.
The whole decision that they should and block and clock the top there.
Yeah.
That people create opportunity for up and coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, but that could have still waited 3 months. This gentleman goes.
Yeah.
Especially when you had a political element running route with allegations of land guards and the police not investigating those things.
Right.
Politics.
See, the IGP, who is another top-notch professional, and I like him very well, he himself, a lot of allegations were made about him. I don't know whether you remember. Many allegations from the Kufuor time.
Yeah.
By all sorts of people. In fact, our friends in the NDC don't like him at all.
Yeah, it's true.
Thank you for saying. You understand? But you see, he stands there clean as I speak. I think the police, the police failure, I don't say refusal, to investigate those allegations was also unfair to Bright. Truly, that's not why you've asked him to go. But once those allegations are hanging, and considering the timing and circumstances of you asking, you have created problems for him. That's why he's talking.
Right.
He's a human being. That's why he's talking. Right. So I think this matter was not handled with finesse.
Okay.
That's my view.
Okay. So should there still be an opportunity for investigations in the
They
matter
must.
that,
They must investigate those land allegations. Because they are criminal allegations. If a director of CID was involved with land guards and doing all those things, the fact that he's out is immaterial. Those allegations must be investigated.
Right. Thank you very much.
It's in his own interest, actually.
Right.
Or he could also, on his own, subsequently file a civil suit, isn't it?
Okay.
Against the one who was making the allegations.
Right. Okay. YK Ansayabua says that when a professional is, quote, overly friendly, unquote, in their line of duty, is that being unprofessional? When people are bent on defending the indefensible, they damage their own credibility for nothing. For what, I may ask, if I need some education here. Okay. Now, we see those who say the Akufo-Addo administration it's not giving the right signals. In fact, those are the suggestions. It's not giving the right signals that it is an anti-corruption government, so to speak, because it has campaigned on anti-corruption.
I don't see where they're coming from. Because, look, even now, even still, right now, people are very confused about this matter. There are so many things being conflated. You hear the man is due for retirement 3 months' time. You hear he has been asked to proceed on leave prior to retirement. You hear it is because he was involved with land guards. You hear that allegation was made by some politicians. You hear the connection with Madam Tiwa Addo-Danquah. So many aspects to this, and people are confused. And now you're saying, oh, the government is involved. There is facts on this issue, then there is conjecture, like all these things we are saying. Then there is the self-assigned reasons of right oduro. All right? But in all of these things, we must keep something in mind. I hear Honorable Yunus Hussaini saying the police must be more professional, they must be professional at their work, and accusing them. I think you have some grounds for that. But I think, and I always say this when I have the chance, if you travel across West Africa, you will come to the clear conclusion that the Ghana police is the most professional police force in the sub-region. They are far from perfect. Okay, and I think that what we must be urging them to do is to move from where they are towards a greater level of professionalism. And I say so because I know some of the people there, they are very fine people. And I agree with the idea that we should unclog the top so that some of these people will come up. Okay, we all have friends in the police, people we sat in law school with, and they are competent and capable. All right, so let us just not make the mistake of just bastardizing the whole institution, but let's say you guys move yourself up to that point where your professionalism will be unassailable. That being said, every police force will have some amount of interaction with the political system. And that interaction must not necessarily always be or be construed to be interference. And you and I, we know the issues we have, but we have to be honest about this, that it is not just a matter of the police are just sitting there and they do what politicians want. Come back to this Bright Odro issue. All the things going around, for the sake of everybody, here are the facts. Bright Odro has 3 months to retire. Fact. Okay. He was asked to proceed on leave because he had accumulated leave. Fact. The reasons given for that proceed on leave did not include Kenneth Japon's accusations of being on Langard, duties. Fact. It is he, Bright Odro, given an interview, who assigned reasons that it was due to this. It is his self-assigned reason. There is nowhere I've seen that in any official document. So we are being invited to accept that. We can choose not to accept it. Okay? If you asked, Kweku asked, why wouldn't they just wait for the 3 months to happen? That's a problem. Because I also thought, 3 months, wait, let it happen. But Kweku, there's a song that says, Sankebede na yoya.
I hear you.
Because if there's this thing about, they can wait for him to get to the end of the period and then they let him go. But if somebody wants to make a statement, maybe the 3 months, they are letting you go now so they can make a statement against you. Okay? But that is internal politics. I don't think we are being invited to take care of that. So I think that, look, I am more interested in preserving what the real situation is. And the real situation is that Mr. Odro, on the face of it, is due for retirement. I also am not in favor of this whole giving people contract thing. Where there's a compelling reason so to do, we should do so. And anyway, there is a move in this country to move the retirement age to 70.
Oh, okay.
All right? Yes, there's a lot of people working on that one now. There are pros and cons to that. But in the police force specifically, I think we have very fine younger, okay, very qualified. We said
he doesn't look like he's even.
He doesn't even look like
he's
he's
for retirement.
Yeah, it's true. Okay, so we should look at all these things, but on this specific matter, we should stop talking about it this week. I don't think Bright Odro is guilty of anything. No good police person, and you talked about our friend Kofi. No good police person will go through a career and not have serious allegations being made against him. So let's put all that aside. What I would urge the Ghana police to do is get to the point where when you do these things, nobody will say, why didn't you do it for him? Nobody will go and find some fantastic reasons and anything. This is a very simple matter. The man has accumulated leave. He's due to go. Maybe we should have voted for him for the 3 months to pass. But for all you know, well, somebody thought, leave the room and let it come. On the issue of ACP Addo-Danquah, my research on her shows that she's amongst the finest.
Yeah.
I think she was the best cadet also during her, time. I mean, one small matter happens and we want to throw that lady down. No. There is I don't see any problem. Even with the A+ tapes involved, I don't see any problem, any reason why that woman should not ascend to that position. And I have only one question.
But you have also endorsed the point
let me
that
finish.
perceptions are important.
Let me finish. So I'm saying they are important, but you see, perceptions themselves must be informed. Otherwise, they must be totally rebutted. So I'm making the point, and that is towards the rebuttal. Who in the Ghana police is more suited? Who is in the better position? Who is more qualified? Who else should be given that seat? She is the next in line to that seat. So why are we asking any questions? Yes, perception, which is what I'm saying. The Ghana police should work to the point where when they make these decisions, we will not come in to start asking things. What point does Kofi want to make?
Then we'll take a break.
No, I'm just, so is Kofi suggesting that we should just let those perceptions arising out of the contents of the tape, just leave them alone, and that it won't hurt her? Because it's hurting her now.
Okay, so
my view is hurting her. Can't you? Why won't we clear that? Is it not in her ultimate interest?
What I said does not cancel what Kweku is saying. What I'm saying is that we should not. I said, who is in the position to go in there? Kweku's point is that let's investigate that matter. I agree.
It will help her.
I agree. Because like you said, if you take
well, it's a promise the police is self-made.
Nobody exonerated Kofi.
They stopped investigating.
So let's investigate
the police
that matter.
began and stopped.
But ACP Addo-Danquah is the one to step into that office. And I don't think there is any compelling reason why anybody should assign any other reason to it. Okay. But the matter should be investigated. So should be exonerated.
Now, Kofi is informing us they began and then they stopped.
I'm telling you.
And now she's the one at the top of the department responsible for investigations.
That's easy. She has bosses, and the police has a system for dealing with this. We should not suggest or
that
give the
true.
impression that this is something that cannot be done because she's the top CID.
Okay.
It can be done, should be done.
Okay, thank you.
She was director of operations. She went through the police service inquiry. Yeah.
It's for her interest. Yes.
Okay. So comments include that there are murky clouds hanging over her until the supposed fine career, until the investigations are done to clear her of them. For Newton, Mankraso says it is clear, like snow, that Honorable Ejapa is finding it difficult to defend the CID boss. The elevation to that high office, looking at the circumstances that have surrounded her before the appointment as a CID boss now, it is unfortunate and a heavy dent on our police investigations department. I'll share a couple more with you when we return to deal with Hurricane Amari and perhaps Typhoon NCA.
Wow.
Thank you.